So welcome to my next Get a Life moment with myself, Lisa Davies, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Owen Lewis, who is a human rights advocate, a social entrepreneur, and one of Lincolnshire's 30 under 30. Welcome, Owen. How are you?
I'm all right, Lisa. How are you?
Good, I'm really good. So we've kind of worked together whilst you've been at BGU doing your team entrepreneurship degree. So we've got to know each other a little bit over that time. But for anybody listening in, just who is Owen Lewis?
I always like to go with fun and trying. I think whereas I'll go with them. So I work around diversity and inclusion, running workshops for schools and businesses. And I've been lucky that's taken me across the UK, Europe, into Uganda and South Sudan.
Wow.
I know, it's fun. So I'm somebody who will talk to anyone who is willing to listen.
Yeah, fantastic. Am I right in thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were doing some very interesting work just recently? Was that with the UN?
Yeah, so earlier during the summer, making the best out of lockdown, I took part in the first global Model United Nations.
Oh, fantastic.
It was a wonderful opportunity to work with other young people across the world. And next month, I'll be taking part in the summer school with the Geneva Institute. Just learning more about the UN and getting to work with diplomats and helping to really just develop what I know.
Sounds absolutely, what an amazing opportunity. So, okay, so you're up and down the country, across the world even, kind of raising awareness of equality and diversity. What was your journey to get you to the point where you are doing that and getting involved in this important work? So what was the journey to get you to that then, Owen?
For me, I always say that my journey starts from when I was quite young. Is whenever I do the work that I do, I always say I'm not got the academic experience, I've not written books. The work I do is all around stories and play.
Yeah.
So since I was about 10 to about 18, I was a young carer for someone who had their own very difficult mental health problems and addiction.
Right.
And it's one of those times that, reflecting back on it, it was definitely, I'd say it was a challenge, but I learned a lot from it. And I think that's something that I'm quite thankful for.
Yeah.
Is I feel that when I reflect, I feel there may be things I missed or things that I regret, but actually, I think I understood things. But I've been really lucky since, because what that really taught me going through that and during that time was just the trying to grab every opportunity that I could going forward. And I've been really lucky that I've had people around me who's been willing to give that chance.
Yeah. So it's a massive thing, isn't it, to be a young carer? It is, and there are so many young people in that position. But I think what's so uplifting, so enlightening listening to you speak is that you see that in a way as a gift, because it shaped you into the person that you are now and are becoming and are developing into with your business and your interests and your, you know, the work that you are doing in terms of ensuring that other people are heard. I mean, it's just incredible that you see that as a gift.
And I think I do, because I think for me it's knowing what my other option is. And I use the word reflect a lot in terms of it, because I never realised I was a young carer until I was 20.
Right.
So years after actually it all happened. Because at the time I just took it as in, this is what life is, this is how things happen.
Yeah.
It was only when I started working with other people when, oh, actually, that was me.
Yeah.
And so for me, it is trying to see what I can take from it and one of my big motivators is I don't want other young people to go through the same things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's there are going to be other people who went through and are going through the same stuff that I have.
Yeah.
And maybe are in the same situation of actually they don't know about these things because these conversations aren't being had.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just think that that is just the way that life is, when in actual fact they need other support and they need to be heard. Absolutely. So when tell us a little bit about the chances to go abroad to Uganda and stuff. What an amazing opportunity that was. What sort of work were you doing there?
So I've been twice. I went in 2014 with a group of young people, and I went again in 2017 by myself, which was a very random and wacky choice. So I've had the opportunity working in schools and helping to create a drama program, working in hospitals on TB wards, working with refugees in South Sudan, and just taking part in the local community and learning from those that were there.
And what would you say were your biggest lessons that you took from those experiences?
For me, I'd say there's two main lessons that I took away. Was the unadulterated love of life, that no matter what happens to us, our heart's still beating, our heads are still going. We've got people around us that when life is tough, we're still going, we're still alive, we're still moving forward. And when times are tough, things are still going to get better. There is still light within the dark. It's not just we're always in a dark place, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always still light there with us. And that can help guide us, even if it is just our own light.
It's interesting. It tends to be a little bit of a theme that comes out in quite a few of my interviews, actually. The word hope, that no matter what, there is always that light and there's always that hope. Sometimes it takes somebody else to shine a light on that for us, though, doesn't it? Yeah. So how did you come to be running? You do the workshops. How did you get into that? Obviously, you said that it came from your own experience, but where did you have this idea? Right, I'm going to go into companies. I'm going to go into schools. I'm going to go into organisations, and I'm going to raise this awareness.
Well, for years, I'd been really interested about speaking about gender and sexuality topics. Again, a lot based on my experiences from growing up as a gay young man. And I'd gone to a conference down in London, and I'd sat through the whole day of kind of like this PowerPoint presentation after another. And I sat down in a hotel bedroom. I was just like, I am bored. And at the time, I was doing a drama degree. And I wrote down in the notes section of my phone, what happens if we mix drama and talk about gender and sexuality things? And that's where the business and the idea sort of grew out from. Is it's looking about that ground of talking and having difficult conversations through play, through collaboration. So that's where it all came from.
And what's been the response to that out in organisations?
It's been really great. I think there's always the old people at the beginning who are just like, what is going on? Because it's not very often that we do these type of things. When we think of training, when we think of having these difficult conversations, it's not a fun image that comes into our mind, but it's a great way, and being able to actually see barriers being broken down, seeing people talk to each other and being open and honest. So we've had some great feedback back to us. But for me, every workshop we do where we just witness barriers coming down, conversations happening, people actually just becoming themselves. It's just such a wonderful experience. It's what's kept me going.
Do you think that there is it's probably quite a naive question really, that there are still so many barriers to be broken down.
Yes. I think especially the time we're going through at the moment is there's big conversations happening globally about race, about identity, about culture.
Yeah.
And these aren't conversations we've had. And the conversations that have happened have never been really until now on such a large scale. What do you
think is the energy that's allowing that right now? What's shifted that it's and it feels like an energetic shift almost. That this is the time now. Let's have these conversations. Let's not judge one another. Let's recognize that we all have a place in the world. What do you feel is fundamentally making that shift happen now?
I think for me, there's a couple of factors that go into it. Since the couple of last big incidents that would have created this conversation, we've now got more access to communicate with each other, to see these type of things that are happening globally through social media, through the media itself. And as a global population as well, we're going through a really difficult and challenging time on top of that.
Yeah.
Everyone is hurting and grieving and going through these different emotions. And then we've got these difficult conversations and we're going, it's one of the first times in a long time we're focusing a lot on our emotions.
I suppose, we've been locked down at home. That's been heightened, isn't it? We're having to sit with ourselves. And if you look at, I suppose, for want of a better word, from a more spiritual point of view, in terms of this experience that we're having, we have been made to sit with ourselves and all of those emotions and all of that stuff that's maybe we've been buried because we're busy on the hamster wheel of life, and we don't need to have any of those conversations because we'll just keep ignoring it and we'll just keep on motoring on this motorway, blinkers on. But actually, because we've been made to kind of sit with ourselves, maybe that's added to this. Now is the time we need to be having these conversations. Really interesting.
And I think especially as we know going forward, our new normal, our workplaces, our lives, our communities are never going to be the same as they were before lockdown.
No.
And I think we've got the opportunity now to ask the question, well, what do we want these new spaces to look like?
Yes.
What do we want them to be?
Yes. How do we want to be with one another?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What person do I want to be in those spaces?
Yeah. Interesting. So what are you working on right now then? What's kind of in your atmosphere right now? What are you busy doing?
Working really on two main things. I'm doing a lot around continuing with doing the training, and so working with a lot of schools at the moment around moving stuff online, digital learning, and how do we have digital conversations with young people about these topics? I'm also involved in some wonderful research going on about the human rights of environmental defenders.
Right.
Which has been a fantastic insight, especially looking at the time we're going through at the moment. So two very active but wonderful pieces of learning happening.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking that this week is Non-Binary Awareness Week? So what sort of work is going on around that in terms of educating, encouraging conversation, encouraging dialogue?
For me, especially as a non-binary individual, it's an interesting one for myself. It's the first Non-Binary Awareness Week where I've been out and I've almost accepted who I am.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting week for myself, asking questions that I've asked to many other people, but asking them to myself. But with the schools I've been working with, we're starting to create these plans, not just for this week, but going forward as well, is actually what sort of conversations are we having with young people?
Yeah.
And the places that schools are, what conversations are they having about gender?
Yeah.
Not with the attempt to change the entire education system all within 1 week, but to actually just kind of sit down and go, what things are we saying? And what image is that giving off?
Yeah, and I guess the consideration of what is their scope, is there room, is there, I'm trying to find the words, is there opportunities for people to discuss, discover, to be who they are, however that shows up, without feeling, especially with younger children, as they're discovering who they are, without kind of pigeonholing.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, not necessarily purposely, but how can we build environments and spaces and dialogue that allows for all?
Yeah. I think especially whenever I work with young people, it's a very sensitive topic, the area that I'm talking about. And no matter the topic, there's always two things that I always want somebody to go away with, is the understanding that no matter how you identify, if you are happy and it is safe, then you are valid.
Yeah.
And secondly, is to provide a space for discussion.
Yeah.
It's not going, these are all the answers you ever need. This is who you are. This is, right, you're now off. This is who you are. That's your identity. It's providing the space to go, this is a thing.
Yeah.
For people to go away and start to read, to discuss, to find their own answers. Is to start these difficult conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I guess it must be, I don't know, is it interesting? Is there resistance? Do you find a lot of resistance? And is it maybe from older generations? Is it across the board? What sort of resistance do you come up against when you're having what you call difficult conversations? Because I mean, part of me kind of wants to say, well, should it be a difficult conversation, really? We're in 2020. Should this be a difficult conversation? But clearly, it still is in many spaces. So, what sort of resistance, and where does that resistance come from?
Yeah, I think it's a good point saying about with it being a difficult conversation. And I think the reason I still say difficult conversation is knowing that it is new to so many people, that it's the difficult bit is having the room to start them.
Yeah.
Resistance-wise, I'm quite lucky. When I've worked in schools, I've not faced any resistance. I found young people are the ones who will ask you 100 questions. Not always relevant, but sometimes they'll still ask 100 questions.
It's better to ask it than just be wondering it and be misinformed. Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the thing is it's having those chats, but just keeping it fun, keeping it light, keeping it human. Resistance I found normally comes from either doing conference events or sometimes the business training.
Yeah.
Resistance normally comes in the form of ignorance.
Yeah, or not, just simply not understanding. Yeah.
It's the realm of not knowing. It's the realm of not knowing. And when we don't know something, it's not a comfortable feeling. When we're faced with something that we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's how resistance normally forms itself. It's just in those barriers. But I'm quite lucky. I've not faced strong resistance. But I know I'm lucky again in my position. That I have certain privileges that others don't.
Yeah.
So I think for me is holding the question with myself, especially during the time we've gone through, is so what's my role? Where do I fit in? What's my place?
Yeah. And is that those questions, do you have answers to those questions for yourself, or is that still unfolding?
For me, I think it's still unfolding. I know that I have the opportunity and I have the space, and therefore I feel that I hold a responsibility based on the work that I do. But I think I don't think I can ever put this is the answer.
Yes.
Because it's an ever-going, continuing conversation.
Yeah.
That question will never have a finite end.
No.
As I go through life, as we all go through life, that question will still continue. Because our situation will be different, the world will be different.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's the power of reflection. And reflection should never end.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, clearly you are making a difference in the world by stimulating the conversations. And I love the way that you are using sort of more embodied ways of doing that. So it's not just a chalk and talk, that you are involving people in engaging that in a way that engages them, you know, mind, body and spirit, if you like, into that. That's my words, not yours, but you know, that they're showing up with their whole self and feeling what that feels like, and asking those questions and having those dialogues and seeing one another as, you know, valid human beings. I just think it's wonderful work that you're doing. So what is your ambition then? What's next? What's into the future for you?
For me, coming into final year of uni now, which is a very scary thought.
That's gone so quick.
I know. Yes, I've now filled myself with dread, but it'll be wonderful.
It will.
It will. So I'm looking towards doing a master's.
Right.
I've got my eye on New York. I know. Well,
you never know who's watching. You never know.
If not, here's my phone number. It's a big challenge, but it's one that I'm surrounding myself with people who can help with certain parts, who are helping keep me going, help me keeping me accountable to, I need to do this by then.
Yeah.
So a big challenge, but one that I'm going for.
Fantastic. And as we wrap up today, as I ask with all of my guests, if you were to give the audience just a top tip for life, what would it be?
I think for me it is to talk.
Yeah.
And which sounds a weird tip for life, but I think it's the power of what talking does, is from conversations to talking about feelings. There's so many barriers that around us and that we create.
Yeah.
That actually to just talk.
Yeah, just talk, just have that dialogue. You know, if we talk, then we breed understanding, don't we? We do. Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you, understanding all of the amazing things that you've been doing, and the things that I am sure you will continue to go on to do. And last year of uni, it'll be a piece of cake. It'll be a piece of cake. Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Lisa.